have a brand new skit for us, so you won't be seeing a repetitive skit from last year, but I'll give you the attention and hand it over.
Thank you so much, Candy. Hey, who has seen us before? Who saw us last year? Awesome. Most of you did. Glad you're all back again. My name is Willie.
Jamie.
Stacy.
Faith.
And we're Pure Praxis. As you know, we're a social theater group dedicated to cultural change. What we're doing today is we are bringing in this improv theater, this fun. We're bringing in some knowledge on the policy. But our goal is really to create a new, unique training with you, because we want you to provide us with your feedback as coaches, as the people that are standing in the shoes, working with these student athletes and working as staff for Cal Poly Pomona. It's really important we have that to create this show for you today. Now, you're going to see some scenarios today that involve an athletic director, a coach, and a student. This is not meant to be directed at anyone in particular. I hear there's only one athletic director. I'm not sure if that individual stands out right now, but this was not written with you specifically in mind. We're just merely highlighting that there are hierarchies in organizations, and it's a way for us to talk about different levels of leadership and interaction. So just keep that in mind. Speaking of that, when it comes to the term coach, what are words that come to mind right away? What are words that you think of when you hear about coach? What does that mean to you?
Teacher.
Teacher? Okay, great. Teacher. What else?
Mentor.
Mentor. Leader. What was it? Leader. Awesome. What? Any other ones?
Ogre.
Ogre. Ogre. Yeah. On bad days, right? Any other ones? Ogre.
Protector.
What was that?
Protector.
Protector, yeah, there's a lot, right? Parent, maybe sometimes it feels like. So there's all these roles you have as a coach. And then if you go outside of your role as a coach to your personal life, what are some of the other roles you feel in your personal life?
Leader. Ogre.
Still the same one, just in a different context, right? Right, maybe it's friend, maybe it's husband, wife, son, daughter, father, mother, right? There are these other roles you play out in your personal life. And that's what we want to talk about today, because you're not just coaches, you're these whole other people outside of this role, in spite of what your student athletes might think when they're shocked seeing you at Ralph's on a day off, right? And that's what we want to discuss, because sometimes those outside experiences might affect your roles as a coach, and we want to talk about how we can communicate, make sure that we're at our very best so that we can be at the very best for our students. So with that said, we're just going to go ahead and jump into our first scene. All you need to know about this first scene is that we have Stacy here, who's coach of a team, and we have our athletic director here, who represents no one in particular, and they're going to have an interaction. Actors, when you are ready. Wait. Oh my gosh, I sat on the camera. Well, hey, don't sell that shot you just got right there.
It's gonna work. I'll just
I
hold
can
it.
hold it for you if you want.
That's okay, I'll just hold it.
Okay. All right, actors. Actually, let me do this. Are y'all ready for a show?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me do it there. Y'all ready for a show? All right, let's go. Next scene.
Oh my goodness, you scared me.
Sorry, I did not mean to startle you.
That's okay. I've just had a tough past couple days, weeks.
Yeah.
Really.
Hey, if it's any consolation, the other day the construction crew working on the library nearly gave me a heart attack. Banged on something so loud I almost thought we had an active shooter situation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I hate that that is a normal sentence. No.
Yeah, me too. I've been on edge lately because I found my car vandalized.
Oh, did that happen here on campus?
Yeah, so last week I went out to my car, it was like 9:30 at night, and I found my entire driver's side slashed and then my mirror broken off.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, luckily the insurance covered most of it, but unfortunately Taylor was laid off last month, so the wallet's been pretty tight. So it helped, but then it also didn't.
I am sorry, I didn't know that. Poor Taylor.
Yeah, she's been applying everywhere, but the job market hasn't been the best lately.
Yeah. Does that mean that you're going to have to pull your son out of private school?
Well, that's the other thing. Luckily, we have the semester paid off, so we're going to leave him for now, but we're definitely looking into public schools in the area. Which, I know that's such a privileged complaint to make.
No, I get it. I probably sound like a broken record. You've heard it a million times, but I am sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Of course.
I'm so sorry.
No. You go first.
So I actually wanted to ask your help on something. So I have a student, Faith Gibbons.
Faith. She is the one that dates Riley in tennis.
Yes, well, they broke up, but yes, that is her.
Yeah, Riley has quite the temper on here. Anyhow, what's going on?
Well, I had a meeting with her recently and it didn't go very well. So I wanted to be supportive and give her some constructive feedback. But she didn't like what I was saying, and then she started banging her head against the wall. Not hard, but still enough for it to be unusual behavior.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Well, I was thinking that maybe next time we could have somebody in the room with us, or maybe a coach could chat with her next instead.
Okay.
Someone else.
Yeah, just do your best to get Faith the right resources.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Stacy, listen, I know there's a lot on your plate, this Faith situation included, but I do need to talk to you today about that. Your players, they've been saying, some of them have been saying that you play favorites, and that they feel the team isn't a safe place for them.
Okay. Wow. Well, where are these allegations coming from? I do not play favorites.
You know I can't talk about that. My conversation with you today is ensuring that the players feel safe.
Well, can you tell me what I've been doing to make the players feel unsafe?
Yeah, we can schedule a follow-up. But I'm coming in early with this information because what we don't want is prohibited behavior, from faculty, allegations of it, also, and staff. And we do not need another Coach Green situation.
Oh, well, Coach Green was accused of sexually harassing multiple students. I think it's a stretch to compare us.
Yeah, I'm not comparing you two. I'm sorry if it came off that way. I'm simply saying that you need to watch yourself and think about how you want to relate to players before this goes any further. If you have any questions while we're still trying to figure this out, please do come to me.
Will do. Thanks for the heads up, I guess.
Yeah. Schedule follow-up in about a week.
I have some away games, but yeah, I guess I could move some meetings around.
Great. Great. I'll see you then.
Looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you.
Guys, so let's break down that scene a little bit, talk about what we saw. Let's start off with Stacy's character. Where do you think Stacy's emotional well-being is at right now? What do you think is going on with her if we were go from like feeling great, like on a beach in Hawaii to, in the trenches? Where's Stacy at? What do we think?
Well, a couple things. She's in the season, which is a grind.
Yeah.
And obviously what's going on outside of her job is stressful. So those two, speaking from a coach perspective, those two are hard to balance and trying to figure out everything. And then you're brought this information, it's even a harder experience. But those two main outside factors are you're the same person trying to handle two different situations.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's start with maybe the personal life. On the personal life end, what does Stacy have going on? That might be adding stress to the situation.
Family situation was going on. I think it was her significant other, or
partner.
Yeah. So that would be the first one.
Okay.
Dealing with loss of a job, stress of finances, trying to do a doggone good job coaching their team probably, and trying to win games as much as possible. Those two are rough to kind of balance sometimes, but things aren't maybe going well. I don't know what her season's like. That's another factor too.
Yeah, well, let's open that up. Everybody here is working with a team of some sort. What might be some of the on-the-job stresses that are maybe inherent to the role? Things that are harder to help, but just are inherent stresses to her position as a coach right now. What might some of those be? Academics, so share that a little more with me about it.
Like checking in with your student athletes, making sure that they're not only going to class, but staying on top of their assignments, studying for tests, exams, and make sure they're prepared so they can have, 9, 12, 24, 2.0.
Absolutely, yeah. So kind of trying to corral the herd cats into staying in class as student athletes to keep them on the field or the court or the pitch, or we can go on in the pool. What else? What else do we got as a coach? And this is where I'm asking for your perspective.
Recruiting.
Recruiting, okay. Trying to get more athletes there. And so Stacy has all these things going on, and then now let's talk about what is the new stressor that Jamie brought in to tell Stacy about.
Basically how her coaching, she's either being too hard or what, I don't know, there's a little bit more to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Just figuring out what is she doing. She thought she was doing the right thing, and obviously the student athletes felt but then it goes to the athletic director, which is immediately our boss, and then comes to us. Those are tough. That's more stress.
Right,
On
yeah,
top
absolutely.
of like, hey, you're being, and another scenario happened earlier in the year, if that was the year previous, and then to be compared to that, that's an added stressor as well.
Yeah, now you're maybe getting your name thrown in with somebody that was far more heinous than
Correct.
her. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. And how is Stacy coping with this, if at all?
She seemed like confused. She didn't really seem like she had processed it yet, because there wasn't a lot of information given, like by the athletic director. about
Yeah.
what's going on. It was pretty vague, which can be even more stressful.
Did you see a point where maybe Stacy was trying to ask for help? I see some nods right here. I see a nod. What was that point for you?
She straight up asked for help in the middle of that scene.
Got it. And how was that received from Jamie?
Kind of blew over it.
Okay.
You didn't really address it.
Yeah, in terms of Jamie's character, right, a role for anyone, right, if you're a coach, you may have to break news to athletes you don't want to. As an athletic director, you may have to break news to the staff that's working for you, bad news. How do we think Jamie handled that, just from your perspective? We'll start with, how do you think Jamie handled Stacy asking for help?
Poorly.
Poorly? Why is that?
Arms were closed, wasn't open to conversation. Everything she asked, he would just kind of shut down and told her to just do the best she could, and didn't really offer any support. Didn't seem empathetic at all. It was, he dropped a bomb on her and then left it up for interpretation.
Okay, so a lot of sort of a lack of resources provided, a lack of feedback where Stacy might have needed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what about the way he delivered the news? And there's no right or wrong here. How did you view that? His delivery of what was going on? Positive, negative?
It was safe.
It was safe?
Yeah.
You felt good about it? Okay.
No, it was letter of the law safe.
Oh, I see.
Kind of handled it blandly, just delivered the news. He assumed that she understood. He assumed a lot of emotion, but never delivered it.
I see. Okay, so he essentially kind of crossed the T's, dotted the I's, but with no nuance there.
Yes.
I delivered the information. I didn't do anything wrong, but maybe it also wasn't handled super well either.
Maybe it didn't come across as authentic, like it was very rote.
Very businesslike. Yeah. And it's a danger in our environment because of so many rules and regulations and the treacherous landscape of Title IX that it does create a communication gap. Because if you're overly sympathetic, then all of a sudden people start picking sides. And you're like, oh, he's on the coach's side, and all he was trying to do was support his coach.
Yeah.
So he's trying to balance this delivery, and and the way he delivered it was too businesslike and comes off as callous.
Got it. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really what a major focus today is, that nuance of conversation, because it can feel like a treacherous field, right? You don't want to, make one person feel some kind of way and leave another one happy, or vice versa, right? So it's good to see that empathy for Jamie there. Maybe he is trying to do his best, and just there's a failure in execution, maybe because of a lack of knowledge of how to do that. So here's what we're gonna do. I want to move on to our next scene. This time around, we have Stacy here, who has called our student athlete Faith to her office to have a discussion about her role on the team. Actors, when you're ready.
Oh, Chris, hi. Oh, just give me 1 second to finish this up. Oh, I'm sorry. Please have a seat. Oh, aren't you hot in that hoodie?
Not really.
Oh, I would be melting in that. But then again, I don't really know too much about fashion nowadays, so I probably shouldn't say anything about it.
Look, am I in trouble or something? Is that why you called me into your office?
No, not at all. 1 second. Let me respond to this really quick. Okay, well, what I wanted to to talk to you about was that I've noticed a change in your in your performance lately.
I missed one practice.
Well, it wasn't just one practice. You've been late to practice, and you almost missed the bus last week with our game to San Bernardino.
Fine, it won't happen again.
Well, look, it's more than just your performance on the field. I've been hearing from your professors that you're also missing class, and that you are failing in 2 of them, and that you're barely hanging on to a C in the 3rd.
Okay, I'll get my grades up, coach.
Now, Chris, I need you to be maintaining a 2.0, or else I won't be able to start you.
Come on.
And I'm gonna bench you this week.
What? No, that's not fair. Coach, fine. I'll get my grades up, okay? Look, I've just been really overwhelmed and a lot's been going on and I just needed a break from my boyfriend, which is why I've been sleeping in my car and I just time. Just give me time, that's it.
Chris, I'm sorry that you've been going through this in your life.
Can you just let it slide?
Look, I am not punishing you. I just need you to focus on your academics right now. That's what I want for you. That's my priority.
I'm on scholarship. This could ruin everything that I worked so hard for.
Look, I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but I am just trying to help you.
How is that helping? If you wanted to help me, you wouldn't bench me. I mean, coach, come on, there's scouts at this week's game.
Look, I understand that you are under a lot of pressure, but I'm sorry about what's happening in your life right now, but we all have a lot of stresses right now.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Well, maybe not specifically, but I do have a lot on my plate, as well as your teammates. But that doesn't mean that we can slack off.
Slack off. You know what? Thank you so much from the depths of my heart for this lesson and for ruining my athletic career. Oh my gosh, this is a perfect opportunity for you to pick your favorites in my spot.
But that is not what is happening here.
Oh, really?
And it's not the end of your career.
God, I don't even know what I'm doing here. I wish you would have been honest and called me and said you want to kick me off the team instead of pretending like you actually care about
Chris,
me.
I do want what's best for you.
Oh my God, just leave me alone.
All right, how many of you have teenage kids? Familiar? Yeah. You're alone in your pain, my friend. Alone in your pain. Got it. So, that did not go well. I think we can agree on that, right? How do we think Faith is doing in this moment? What's she thinking, feeling as she walks out the door?
Angry, upset, unsupported.
Angry, upset, unsupported. And then let's go to the other end. What do you think Stacy was thinking, feeling as Faith walked out the door? We're making eye contact. What do you think? No, behind you.
Confused?
Confused? Why? Why do you think Stacy's feeling confused?
She was, from coach's standpoint, she was just trying to have a conversation with her, and she kind of explodes.
Yeah.
A little bit, lets a lot of stuff off her chest, and it's probably a state of shock.
Yeah, so for Faith coming into the room, or for Stacy, do you think Stacy set herself up for success in that conversation?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Where was that in the back? Why do you say that?
First, when she came in, she's like, wait a minute, so obviously she hasn't made her a priority, and then when she answers the text message.
Got it, and then interrupts again to answer a text message. Did we see any other points where maybe Stacy could have maybe addressed something, gone down a different road, but chose to keep, I guess, going around a pre-decided path?
She was businesslike.
Businesslike? Explain that to me a little bit.
So she's worried about coach, like from whatever sport perspective, right? And all she had to do was ask, like, hey, how are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
I've noticed these things. Talk to me.
Yeah, we didn't see that initially, and then we even heard Faith disclose some things that didn't necessarily get addressed either. What did we hear from Faith that's going on?
She's just sleeping in her car.
Sleeping in her car, right? Why is she sleeping in her car?
Yeah, issues with her boyfriend.
Boyfriend, right.
She's covered up head to toe.
Yeah, what might that be indicative of?
Some sexual violence.
Right.
Partner violence.
Yeah, there's a couple, and we even heard Stacy comment on that, right? So you're picking up on this, things going wrong. Here's what I want to do now. I'm going to have my actors come back on stage, and I'm going to have them replay the scene. But this time, at any moment you see a instance where Stacy could improve her odds of a successful conversation, I want you to raise your hand and shout stop. And then I'm going to give you the opportunity to provide Stacy with feedback that she can change in that moment. So let's practice stopping real quick on the count of 3. Just raise your hands and shout stop. 1, 2, 3.
Stop.
Great. 3/4 of you can do it. Perfect. So again, if you see something you don't like, anything at all, raise your hand, shout stop, and we'll adjust it up on stage. Actors, when you're ready.
Oh, Chris, 1 second, just let me finish this up.
Okay, I was like, you all literally brought this up while we were playing. Now it's not profitable. Okay, why'd you stop it?
Her name's Faith.
Faith?
Yeah, I thought her name was Faith this whole time.
It is Faith, yes.
Oh, I said Chris. Faith. See? Another
Oh,
thing.
wow.
That's how distracted
Oh,
I
you're
was.
stopping our actor right now. Wow. Doesn't even know her name. Let's add that in. I like that though. You picked that up. Did anyone stop for a different reason?
Put the book down.
Put the book down. Okay, so let's close up the book.
Maybe turn towards.
Get her name right.
Let's get her name right. Maybe turn towards Faith. Turn towards Faith. Hilarious.
Invite in, because she's obviously outside the office, or maybe she, I don't know the scenario, but maybe she's outside. Invite her in. Oh, she's here now. Because the initial thing was she was called to come see her. So,
Yeah.
hey, come on in. Be more welcoming to
Okay.
come in.
Provide an invitation in. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue from where we were at, where you provide the invitation on that, and then we'll continue.
Oh, Faith, come on in, have a seat. Oh, aren't you hot in that hoodie?
Stop.
Okay, stop. A stop and a
I'm just tired, but, it's her body language, just read her body language when she's coming in, you see how something's going on. It's the dropping of the bag and something in the chair, just, first thing like, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Instead of the comment on the clothing.
Yes.
Okay, so let's try out that. How are you doing? We'll continue from there.
Hey, Faith, how are you doing?
Whatever. It's not important, I guess.
Well, oh, give me 1 second, let me just answer.
Okay, stop. Where are the stops at? I need to see hand. Okay, yeah, right here.
Let's put the phone away.
Put the phone away. Put the phone away. Yeah. So clearly things aren't going here, right? We're picking up on this. But here's what I want to do now. I want to get into the middle of the scene where we're in conflict. Now earlier we talked about how they were feeling. Remind me again. What do you think Faith was feeling as she walked out the door?
Anger, alone.
Where is that at? Anger alone. Anger alone. Got it.
No support.
No support. And then what was going on in Stacy's head? What was that? Confusion? Great. Can I have you both do something? Can you just stand up at your seats? We're going to do a quick group exercise. Can you just stand up at your seats? And then everyone else, can you just, I need you to take one hand and kind of align it with your left shoulder, one hand with your right shoulder. Just a quick group exercise once everyone's doing it. If you're standing, you don't have to do it. And the reason if you're standing, you don't have to do it is because everyone's going to give you applause. Great, so I'm going to have you stand right here representing Stacy. You can stand right here representing Faith. All right, so here's what I want you to do. On the count of 3, I want you to get into a physical position that represents how you think Faith feels. So a physical manifestation of her feeling, and then for you, a physical manifestation of what Stacy's feeling, okay? Well, we can all count together. On the count of 3, 2, 1, all together. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we got hunched over here with a G-shock. I like that. And then right here, we got that confusion going on. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to have you stay right there, and I'm going to take it to the middle of the scene where the conflict is at its peak. And I want you to pay careful attention to what they're saying, because we're going to dive into the subtext in a moment. So actors, from the peak of the conflict, go ahead and take your lines.
Wow, helpful? How is that helpful? If you wanted to help me, you wouldn't just bench me. Oh my gosh, there's gonna be scouts at this big game.
lot of pressure right now. I'm sorry about what's going on in your life, but we all have a lot of stressors.
You have no idea.
Well, maybe not specifically, but I do have a lot on my plate, as well as your teammates. But that doesn't mean that we can just slack off.
All right, we'll hold right there. We'll hold right there.
Are we still gonna stop?
You don't have to stop anymore, but I appreciate that you wanted to. That's really what we're saying. So, real quick, may I ask your name?
Ian.
Ian, perfect. So, Ian, what do you think Faith was saying in the subtext? What do you think Faith was really wanted heard from by her coach? What do you think she really wanted heard?
She wants her to understand what she's going through and give a little bit of, sympathy or compassion.
Got it. So maybe I need sympathy and compassion right now. And over here, what do you think Stacy was hearing? What do you think Stacy was hearing from Faith?
Maybe that she's just feeling stressed and pressured, but so is everybody else.
Okay.
Like, get over it.
Okay, yeah. So in Stacy's mind, she's just hearing, you're telling me all these things going on, but a lot of people have it going on, right? There's this like gap in the communication there, right? And then on this end, what do you think Stacy is trying to communicate to Faith? If we were to imagine Stacy has good intentions, what do you think that voice is that Stacy's failing to execute?
That maybe she understands that she's feeling a lot of pressure, stressors. So are other people. Could you maybe share some of those with me?
Got it.
Perhaps that's what she wanted to say.
Yeah.
I couldn't find words to say it.
Yeah, kind of got lost in the sauce there, right? So, hey, I hear you're going through a lot. I'm here to help you, maybe something like that, right? What do you think Faith is hearing, though, instead?
I think she's hearing all you're saying is, I'm just making excuses and it's all my fault.
Yeah, I'm to blame. You think I'm just making up excuses? Maybe you think my problems are trivial, kind of thing? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to have our actors take a seat, and let's give these two coaches. Oh, I didn't ask your name. I'm sorry. Actually, let's give Ian and Ashley a round of applause. So here's what I want to do now. We're identifying points where maybe the conversation wasn't handled the best from Stacy. We're also understanding that there is a subtext of a well-intended message from both parties, but it's not being communicated effectively. So here's my question for you. Let's say a student like Faith came into your office, and we'll scrub the athletic or the academic probation for the moment. Let's say a student like Faith came into your office, an athlete that normally performs well, you're noticing a decline in their performance, and you want to have a conversation with them about some of those concerns. How do you open up that conversation with Faith in a more productive, positive way than Stacy did? How do you think that conversation should start?
Way back earlier in the conversation when she asked her, how are you doing? And she's like, oh, whatever. Like, there should have been a follow-up to that. Like, can you elaborate on what does whatever mean? Like,
go ahead. So elaborate on a follow-up instead of blowing right past it?
Yeah.
Great. So Ian, I love that you're just participating so much today. We're actually going to have you come up and replace Stacy. Star student today. Star student. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and have you take a seat here. All you need to know for this setup is that you know something's been going on with Faith. You call for her into your office because you have some concerns. And we're just going to hope that you have a more productive, positive conversation than Stacy did here. Now, because this is, of course, a Title IX sponsored training, I want to go over quickly at Pure Praxis, our acronym for you to assist you in the event that you think you may be talking to a student that's gone through a traumatic experience, abuse, sexual violence, something like that. And so for those survivors, we always encourage you to remember the acronym ARC, A-R-C. So that is affirmations, resources, and care. So anytime the student is talking, you want to ask yourself, is my response right now an affirmation? I'm so glad you came to me. This isn't your fault. I understand this is stressful. Are you going to respond with a resource? Hey, I'm a resource. There's resources on campus. I'm happy to help you find resources. And the last one is control. This is a tough one for most organizations in general. I imagine, especially as coaches, where you're used to guiding your athletes. Sometimes we want to say things like, you need to go talk to the Title IX office. You need to do this. You need to do that. Ultimately, we still want to leave the control in their hands. Do we know why it's important to leave the control in the hands of the survivor who's maybe experienced a violent crime committed against them?
Because the act was already a loss of control when there's that feeling.
Absolutely. The act was already a loss of control. It also makes them more likely to continue to come to us for help as opposed to maybe shutting down and isolating themselves further. So absolutely. So ARC, affirmations, resources, control, and we're going to have Faith step in because she wants to talk about something. Actors, when you are ready.
Hey Faith, glad you made it. Come on, have a seat. Everything okay?
Not really, actually. There's just been a lot going on. And I know you're seeing that in how I play, and the practices are going, I'm not looking as great. I kind of want to tell you something, but I don't want you to tell anyone else.
Okay, I understand. I want you to feel like this is a safe space, and we have, the coach-athlete relationship where you feel comfortable in sharing whatever you're struggling with, and then, we'll try to find the right resources to help you figure out whatever the situation is.
Okay. Well, Riley, me and him go.
All right, let's pause right there. You're doing a great job. How do we think that's going so far? Okay, we have some, and there's no right or wrong up here. This is why we're here in this learning situation. I saw maybe right here.
Only because he can't promise not to tell.
Okay, got it. I was waiting for that. I should have told you as well to kind of raise your hand if you see a concern. Yeah, right over here.
Yeah, just saying, you have to let them know mandated pulled up, and then we got share.
Yeah, mandated work. I was actually, for a second guessing myself, like, wait, did they have a new policy for coaches to student athletes? Like, there's a confidentiality you can have now. Great, so that is a major difference for your community compared to other ones that we sometimes work with, is this idea of mandated reporting. So in your view, if a student athlete comes to you and says, hey, can I tell you something, and can you promise to keep it a secret? What is our response to that? Because on the one hand, we desperately want them to share with us what's going on so we can help, but we also don't want to lie and then break their trust. How do we go about doing that as mandated reporters? I understand it's tough. I used to work with kids, and I have had that conversation before with a young child, and it's tough to need to know. Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I think you start with the first phase of it where you let them know that you're a mandated reporter and you're there to support and listen, but the confidentiality side of it, you can get them in contact with someone on campus that is outside the circle that you work within, and then you might be able to help that person better find a solution to the issues they have in life.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great idea. Can we actually have you two switch out real quick? You did a great job. Round of applause for you. You didn't do anything. That was a great job up there. Nothing wrong. We're going to just keep trying this so we can all get a little bit of practice. Great. So when it comes to mandated reporting, right, we want to, one, encourage the individual to still share with us, hey, I can't promise you that, if depending on what it is. Something we always encourage is you letting them know what types of situations you might need to report. If this is something about a sexual assault, or abuse, or what else would fall under, if you don't mind, Candy, what else would fall under mandated reporting?
So, we want to make sure, when she said, I have something to tell you, that's a great opportunity to pause and let them know, I want to let you know that I am a mandated reporter, and anything that you say that falls under the purview of Title IX, as well as discrimination, harassment, or retaliation, I must report. However, if you want to seek someone to speak to confidentially, we do have SAS and CAPS on campus, and SAS is the Survivor Advocate Services. They have 2 advocates, and you can walk the student there. They're completely confidential,
when they speak to them, the advocate has the liberty of speaking with the victim and maybe walking with them to Office of Equity to make that report. So that is a safe place for them. We also have CAPS, which is more of a psychological evaluation, but it's a great resource for students who are in distress, like in this situation. I also want to add the care center, right? So I know Willie talked about care. We actually have a care center here on campus. And so for those instances, you can report there. That's not a confidential resource, but it is a place where if the student has issues with homelessness, maybe doesn't have a place to stay, and so they have vouchers where they can house them either on campus or off campus. They have partnerships with hotels. They have MyFis to provide to students. They have technology that they can let the student borrow. They have food vouchers. And most importantly, they will also make those referrals. So if the student is close to you, say, okay, I still want to speak to you, and you suspect there's sexual harassment or maybe domestic violence going on because of the way she's dressed, but it doesn't rise enough for you to feel comfortable coming to Title IX and say, hey, the student is going through sexual harassment because you haven't seen it, you don't know, then the care center is a really safe spot to stop by because they're going to intervene. They're going to have survivor advocate come out and seek that conversation with the student, and then they will make the referral to Title IX if they suspect that there's some kind of sexual assault or domestic violence going on. Does that make sense? And then I did bring, I'll hold till we're done with this, but I did bring some information on responsible employee and how to report to our office, but I'll hold till the scene is over.
Awesome. So, and you mind introducing yourself quickly?
Jay.
Jay? Yep. Awesome. Thank you for being up here, Jay. So again, letting Faith know you're a mandated reporter and letting her know the types of situations that might require you to report. But of course, reminding her that there is a confidential option if she wants to. And ultimately, I think all this has to be bundled with the fact that, hey, I want to help you, so I'd really love to hear what's going on. But if you're not willing to talk to me, let's get you to someone else. So go ahead, Faith. We'll go from your line about wanting to say something.
I just wanted to talk to you about something, but I don't want anyone else to know.
And I understand your concern, and I want to first let you know that I am a mandated Title IX reporter. I can get you in contact with resources on campus that will help maintain that confidentiality that you seek. I really want to be able to be here and listen, but my first and foremost, my responsibility is your safety and your care. Do you feel safe right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's pause. How did that go? Good, yeah, good. We're good with that? Perfect, let's continue.
It's just, it involves Taylor on the tennis team, and I just don't want anyone else to get in trouble. So, can you just know? And I know you have to tell people, but it involves Taylor and we have a game next week, and I
understand your concern. My sole responsibility is your safety. So I would strongly encourage you. I can walk you over to the care center or CAPS to introduce you to someone that will help you digest this information and decide what the best path for you is at this moment.
I don't really know anyone there, and so I feel like I kind of just want to talk to you if that's okay.
That's okay, but as again, I am a mandated reporter, and with great resources there, and I really believe I can take you there, and if you'd like me to stay and wait, I can do that as well.
I'm okay if you have to tell them eventually, but can I tell you right now?
Okay, pause. So what do we feel happening here right now? What do we think is going on?
She wants to talk about it.
She wants to talk about it?
She feels more comfortable talking to him than anyone else.
Got it. What's going on in your head?
Apprehensive.
Why is that?
Just because once the information is divulged, that I don't want to either give the wrong information, wrong response. I want to continue to be supportive.
Yeah.
I think if that moment's okay, I still want the secondary moment of involving someone that's a professional.
Absolutely.
With those emotions.
Yeah, so what are you hearing from Faith right now? Or even in the audience if you have a thought, what are we hearing from Faith? We heard, do we think she wants to talk about it? Do we think she's comfortable with the coach talking to somebody afterwards?
Yeah.
Yes.
What's our gauge? So we have some yes. Anybody no? Feel like we're unsure? What do you think? I'm just gonna challenge you. Raise your hand.
I don't, she might not understand what a mandated reporter is.
Yeah.
Being a student, you might not really understand the full consequences of that.
Yeah, so how do we maybe communicate that clearly right now so we understand? You're saying you're comfortable telling me, I just want to make sure you understand I'm immediately going to have to tell somebody about this if you tell me now. How do we communicate that?
Well, he doesn't know yet what it is, so he may not have to report it. It depends on what the information
Absolutely.
is. So just relaying that to her. Well, depending on what it is, I may or may not need to report it, but that could still, I always have reminded my student athletes, that still remains confidential, even when we do have to move forward and talk to somebody. That's still confidential depending on where you want to take it, and so you still have control over what direction you want to go.
Yeah, I think it's also okay to ask, do you understand what I'm telling you right now, right? Are you clear that if you tell me right now, I'm happy to hear that, but I'm going to have to go immediately and tell a confidential resource? Or do you want me to walk you through who's gonna be informed about this afterwards? That's great. Can we do a quick switcheroony right here? Round of applause. Thank you so much. Great job, Jay. Thank you. And who do we have coming up? What was that? Danelle. Thank you, Danelle.
I also want to add.
Oh, and we have the pro here.
When you inform the student that you are a mandated reporter and you will be reporting to Title IX, it's important to let them know that it falls back on the victim, whether they want to engage in the investigation, right? So that it doesn't mean that because you're reporting it to our office, we're automatically going to launch an investigation. That just means that we're going to seek resources for that student. And so it's still a safe place. It's still, like you mentioned, confidential. Nobody on campus has access to our files, so the faculty can't go in there and see what she's going through, right? So it's still important, as you are explaining your role as a mandated reporter, that there's still an anonymity. Oh, sorry. They're still going to remain anonymous in the sense that everyone is not going to have access to that file. So I think that's an important point to add to that.
Yeah, and another way to also prevent maybe that confusing back and forth is when you explain it, just asking, do you understand and are you still comfortable sharing with me? And if they say yes, great, let's hear it, right? When you're ready, we'll say it's we'll take it from the point where now Faith has said, I think I'm comfortable sharing, and maybe you're just gonna give that last nugget so that she is comfortable sharing with you. Okay?
Yeah, I think I'm comfortable with that.
I just want to make sure you understand, I'm here to help you, and I want to help you, I want to be there for you. It just depending on what you share, I may or may not need, because I'm mandated reporter, share that with somebody. But I want you to know, even if I do have to share that, it still can remain confidential depending on what you choose to do. And I can help you walk you through that, regardless if you want to share that information or not. Today with me, I'm here to help you. I just want to make sure, does that kind of make sense? And do you understand that?
It does. And yeah, I'm okay with that. Thank you for your help. So Taylor, we were at a party and he got drunk. He was mad about practice the day before, and he just kept getting more and more angry, and then he it's fine, I'm fine. I just don't want anyone to get in trouble. And he has a big game, and I don't want him to get in trouble, really. And I know I'm not doing good like I usually do, but I just need some time, okay? And everyone has excuses, but I just don't know what to do anymore.
Well, the sports right now don't matter. We're concerned about you. We're concerned about your safety, your mental well-being, your health. But don't worry about the sports right now. That is not important. I want to make sure that you're okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's pause. I see you looking over at me, right? So again, I'm going to go back to Art. Anytime you're talking to somebody that's a survivor, potential survivor, am I responding with an affirmation? Am I responding with a resource? Or am I providing control? providing control is kind of inherent to not telling them what to do, but it can also look like saying, what would you like to do next? So I'm not going to tell you which one of those, but decide, is it an affirmation right now you want to provide, a resource, or some control to faith?
You've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing wrong in this situation.
I mean, I pissed him off. So like, I know it's how he gets when he's drinking. So it is kind of my fault, you know, you can't be too mad at him. And he has a lot of stress on his plate too.
I'm sorry you're going through all this. I know it's a difficult time.
You know, I'm sorry I came. Nothing happened. It was my bad. I'm just being dramatic. I'm sorry.
Let's take you over. Let's walk you over right now. And let's go see if we can have you talk to somebody that can really help you with this situation. You've done nothing wrong. We're here for you.
All right, what were examples of affirmations you saw up there? It's not your fault? What else? You know, an interesting one that you didn't do that people do a lot, and it's kind of we think it's a good thing, but it can be a mistake, is to say, you shouldn't feel that way. And that's because that's still negating, like, what you're feeling is wrong, right? So you said, I'm so sorry, you know, I understand why you feel this way, but not reinforcing necessarily that, like, yeah, this is your fault, right? But you're still affirming her feelings there. We saw resources and we saw control. What are some other affirmations you might give to a student in this position or an athlete in this position? And I'm only asking because you're likely to find yourself in this seat, unfortunately, with the number of violent crimes committed against students during their college tenure. What are other affirmations you can provide?
I've actually been in this situation, just not in front of all my peers.
Absolutely, yeah. So how was that for you?
Well, I think she felt ashamed, like she did something wrong. Kind of like you were saying, it was your fault. My situation was a little bit different, and just kind of reaffirming her that you know that she didn't do anything wrong, that her feelings are valid. And that I was actually glad that she was sharing them, regardless if that was with me or someone else. But kind of putting their perspective, which is hard if you've never been in that situation. How do you do that? But really trying to just hear them is really what they want. They want to be heard because they do need help, but they're afraid to ask.
Absolutely, yeah. And shame is one of the most common feelings to accompany any sort of victimization that a survivor experiences. A lot of people say shame is the reason they won't come forward. Even if talk about shame, that can go into students struggling with alcohol or drug problems, right? They're ashamed to speak about it because they think everyone's going to judge them a certain way. So shame can be a huge reason. Another number one fear of survivors of abuse, sexual assault, no one's going to believe them, right? So it's really important to have those affirmations in there. That first interaction that they have with particularly somebody they respect like their coach can influence whether they go on to get formal resources or whether they shut down and feel ashamed and maybe don't talk about it for years, decades, maybe the rest of their life. So it's super integral to getting them the help they need for formal resources.
So what if she would have walked out? Like, I offered to take her, she stopped, but what if she would have just been, I still would have reported it, but then just with someone else? I mean, obviously I would want to follow up with somebody else. How does that work?
So I'll chime in on that. And then first of all, I want to commend you because when you were, it's easier said than done. You know, when you're up here, it's really hard and you're like in the moment, right? Like you always think like, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that if something like this happens. But then when you're in the moment, it's really hard for it to come out. But you didn't question her, right? Because sometimes as mandated reporters, we think that we must know everything so that we can report it to the office. And you did not question, well, what happened, right? You didn't know what happened. She didn't disclose that, but so you could have asked for more information. And so it was great that you didn't, because you don't need to know exactly what happened to report to our office. You only report what you know. You can say, the student came to me, was very afflicted, I'm concerned, you know, this is what she said, and that's simply all you need, and then our office will take care of reaching out to gather the resources. And we do have, our software has a way of tracking to see if the student has opened the email, if they've received the text messages, if they're picking up the phone calls that we leave for them. So we try multiple times to reach out to them. If it becomes like something very severe where it's a student of concern, we do have meetings with student of concerns where we can intervene either with student conduct or the care center to make sure we get a hold of that student if we fear further safety. So know that once it's reported, we will do all that it's in our power to ensure their safety. Does that answer your question?
Do you have a question?
Another piece of this scenario that unfortunately I've been through a lot is kind of her concern for Taylor and what the students envision what happens after reporting, because in their heads they see, I'm gonna report it, the police are gonna be involved, I'm gonna be sitting in this office, I'm gonna be interrogated, they're gonna be interrogated, and it's this really scary image of what they think going to the Title IX office is, or you know, and so explaining that and then always saying that they're gonna contact you, but it's always up to you when and how you wanna respond to that. But I think that piece is also scary, along with the shame and all of those other things, what they imagine that follow-up is like, from what's been described as a very like movie cops, detectives, like it's a really, really scary scene of what they think that follow-up is going to be, and their friend is gonna be arrested, they're going to jail and all of these things, and that's rarely the case.
I think that's great, and I'll add to that. You know, usually when I do my student trainings, I let them know too that our office is not a office. It's going to, you know, call the police in, right? So they're in a safe place. Even, you know, our campus does have policy around alcohol drinking, and obviously we know what happens. Minors drink. We're not going to pick up the phone and say, listen, there was these underage kids drinking. Like it's going to be a safe place, and I think it's important for you to relay that to the student. There are instances when it's egregious behavior, a rape or something like that, then yes, the police has to get involved. But they are in a safe place, and so I think this is a good point to pass these out to you, because on here you'll see what happens when a report is made to our office, and what we do, and what can the student expect, and what can you expect? Because sometimes too, as the reporter, you want to know what's happening, and our office won't. Thank you. Our office won't follow up with you as a reporter, right? We're going to solely focus on the victim and reaching resources to them, and you won't hear from us unless you're called in as a witness for an investigation that the survivor has agreed to.
Great, thank you so much, Kate. Yeah, and thank you for saying that. It's really, really great for you to understand the process so you can walk them through exactly what's going to happen. I'm sure you've all had those first-year athletes come onto the team. Imagine, the nervousness, the anxiety. We've all been in that seat, being the first day somewhere, versus, your athletes returning to the team after summer of the second season. Way less anxiety because they just know what to expect. If you put that same scenario on somebody that's gone through a crime and is not knowing what's going to happen, you can imagine exponentially how much more frightening that is. Before we close up today, we did want to leave you with a few campus resources. But if you don't mind, Candy, something we touched on was the accusations of favoritism.
Yes.
For you as coaches or as staff, there may be important things for you to document to protect yourselves in the event of an inquiry or anything like that. Do you mind sharing with them quickly what they should do should allegations like that come up?
Yes, so I would encourage you to keep a journal with anecdotal records of what's happening with your teams, and then obviously bring it up to your director. You also have the Faculty Association that can always come and support you, and they also have great workshops and trainings that they do for faculty. So we've been in contact with them. So know that as a staff, we also have SAS serves students and staff. So if you need to speak, we saw Stacy was in distress and maybe not going through the best time in her personal life, right? So we all go through things in our personal life, or sometimes I'll let you know that when a student discloses something to you, it makes you feel a certain way, right? You care about that student, and so it's important for you to take care of yourself. So know that we do have a contracted service with an employee association that you can call, the phone number, and that's outside of campus, but we also have someone confidential that you can speak to on campus, which is Survivor Advocate Services. and they're located inside the Bronco Center across from CAPS. Know that as a faculty member, you also have resources here on campus and off campus that you can access if you found unwell.
Great, thank you so much. So Candy's provided you with some of the student resources as well as faculty resources you can make use of. I highly encourage you to get familiar with those processes. In the event you need to explain that to either a peer or a student athlete. With that said, this concludes our show today. Thank you so much for participating in this training. For those of you who got here, showed how to handle this conversation. Good luck to you. Hopefully we'll see you next year, and good luck in your seasons. Thank you so much.